Now.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's 2:02, and I'm calling Building, Property, and Cemetery Committee meeting to order. First item on the agenda is the cemetery policy. Mr. Manager, we're ready to go. We're ready to present this to council?
I believe we're ready to present this to council, unless you know otherwise, Jennifer.
Well, I have to my left over here someone that well learned in the policy. So are you good with it, Mr. Hamner?
I'm good.
Check mark.
All right.
All right, the Veterans Day ceremony, where are we on that?
Keep in mind, Veterans Day is not till next year.
Right.
So Mr. Hamner and Yvonne and Zach Whitlow met one time already, and they looked at me. I couldn't make it. Mr. Hamner finally had to go, but Yvonne and Zach stayed, and they didn't know it was next year. They were in quite a tiz. Oh my God, we've got 2 weeks to get this done. It's the 11th month, or 11th hour, the 11th day of the 11th month of 2018. So it's not until next year.
So we'll just let that go.
Mm-hmm.
This American Evolution on here, I'm tabling that till the next meeting.
No.
So I'll give you the floor now to address the committee. Just a short story on where we are with the Bon Secours renewal.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go from there.
We received correspondence from Bon Secours and their real estate agent from CB Rich Ellis, and they had offered to the town $22.50 a square foot for the 5-year renewal. The lease payments for the medical center began on June 1st, 2009. They made that's when the lease term began, and it lasted for 10 years. So it will expire May 31st of 2019, okay? So we still got plenty of time. The medical center will be paid off, I believe, in the month of April is our last payment of 2019. Will be the last payment that we make on the medical center, so that all jives time-wise.
Democrats won, you late.
All right, so we received a proposal from Bon Secours that would pay the town $22.50, and I'm using some round numbers, that would come out at 10,000 square feet and would come out to approximately $17,000 a month, okay? Right now, the Bon Secours pays to the town about $22,000 a month, which covers the full amount of our debt service, okay? In addition, they also help pay for the cost of cutting grass and pushing snow and all such things. Last time we talked, someone on council and certainly myself were concerned about us paying a commission to Bon Secours Realtor to be handling as their property manager. So we went back and asked them to reconsider that, and after a couple emails back and forth, I finally received an email from a man named John Chichester, who works for CB Rich Ellis, and he's in Northern Virginia, or has a 703 phone number, and we spoke to some length, and both of us went back and reviewed the original lease, a copy of which is at your desk, okay? The actual,
Pardon me, copies? 4 copies? Justin, can you get 4 copies of those documents? I'm sorry, Mr. Manager, go ahead.
so the end result is, they offered for this first 5-year renewal on the lease at the medical center, which would take effect approximately on June 1st, 2019, they offered $22.50, when in fact, the lease already discussed the figure, which is $2.50. That was the agreed upon figure in writing and executed, and I assume properly moved and approved by council. I think the intention was to get the medical center paid for and cover the debt service so the town's taxpayers didn't have to front a significant amount of money to get the project done. We had talked at council at some point about some of that money being redirected after the medical center was paid for. I just don't think that's going to be the case anymore. So read your docs. We still got plenty of time. We're November of 17, and the lease doesn't expire till the end of May of 19. So there's still plenty of time, but read the documents that are attached, and I think you'll see, and I think Bon Secours Realtor has an expectation that the town would honor that lease agreement that was that's enclosed for you. So I just don't think there's going to be a significant amount of cash once this lease expires.
All right, so council meets on the 20th, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. So what I would ask you to do is maybe you and I and Jennifer get together and write a brief summary of of everything, and when will we need to have that to you for the council package?
by next Wednesday.
Okay, so you wanna schedule a meeting for us maybe Monday?
That's right.
And the three of us sit down and we'll email it to the committee, let them say grace over it, and if they like it, we'll put it in the council package as a information only.
It's an informational, because I don't think it's gonna require a vote from the council.
So what I would really like y'all to do is to read the information that you're given here, and if you have any questions about it, directly go to Philip, and I want you to feel good about it. And I just don't think we need to spend 2 hours going over this. The way I looked at it and the way I read it, and I was building and chair property manager. I was the same position I'm in now, and I think it's up to them to exercise these two options. And
It
we
just
don't-
says if the tenant chooses to
Right.
exercise the option. I don't think it's a matter of,
So I
the
think
town not
what would be
accepting.
a great idea is if maybe we come up with a brief, a one-page brief,
Mm-hmm.
and says this is where we are and this is what we're, and give that to the council and give it to them information only.
Good deal.
Is that okay? Mm-hmm. Is that agreeable with y'all? Mr. Hamner, you good with that? All right. I don't think we're at a point that we need to make any recommendation to council, but I would like to get them in the loop on what's going on. All right, so the last item that I had today, and the real reason that I wanted to get together, and I appreciate y'all getting together on quick notice, is the Carriage Museum landscaping. And the sense of urgency is this is the time of year to install landscaping. And so Mr. Whitlow has 3 bids here in front of you. One from Clays, one from Dorn, and one from Rourke. John Rourke's a good friend of mine. I coached his child last year in basketball. We just didn't really get prompt response from him. Is that fair to say, Mr. Whitlow? So I'm gonna ask you to disregard this bid, just because we just really couldn't get the information. So Dorn Landscaping and Clay's Landscaping, which is Mr. Nash, provided bids in a timely fashion and worked with Mr. Whitlow to figure out exactly what they wanted to do at the museum. And Mr. Nash's bid was really not complete. And it didn't list out everything, so we asked him to rebid it, and Mr. Nash came back with the same price. So if you look at his price, it's $590, and Dorn's price is $954.20. And I have spoken with Mr. Whitlow, and both companies are easily accessed. They don't have the problem of not returning phone calls. So really, we're talking apples and apples here, and we're talking about a bid of $590 opposed to $954. So it looks like Clays would have the best bid. My question to you, Mr. Manager, is this small amount of money, does this fall under your purview as maintenance? Is this something that you can go ahead and take care of, or do we need to involve the full council?
I think $590 certainly falls below the town's statutory limit for decision-making from the town manager. I think that's $10,000.
Right.
I think we had an expectation something was going to happen over there when we dug the bushes up, and I think we still owe a rose bush to be dug up yet. We'll get that done beforehand. I'm comfortable with moving forward and awarding it. It's gone. Okay, well, there you go. And my questions are on the maintenance long-term.
Well, let's get this out of the way.
I'm comfortable with the award.
And I am. President Thompson, are you comfortable with town manager handling this?
Sure.
What I think we want to do over there is we want to get it right one time, and then Philip is going to talk to y'all about a maintenance program going forward. Are you comfortable with this, Mr. Hamner? I think it's a very good price for the specific amount of stuff that he's offering here, and yes, sir.
After the work has been complete, DBI will maintain any weed issues, we will trim plants, prune, we'll make sure it stays the way it was done.
The one question I have, since it's Mr. Nash, Do you want to go to council for the appearances or the optics of it? That's the only thing. I mean, I think statutorily, we're fine to move forward. I
Well, here-
award POs for more than this on a regular basis.
I tell you what I'd like to do, and if it's okay with the committee, and I don't wanna get out in front of the council, I don't wanna screw up here, okay? But time is of the essence. All right, so if it's okay with the committee, I will call Mayor Colburn and see if he doesn't have any indigestion about it, then I'll say go ahead. The reason I say this is that you have this money budgeted, it's under the $10,000, and I just don't feel like it's necessary to drag all of us in here for this one item.
Typically, we wouldn't go back to council for a number that amount. So I think statutorily, you're fine. I don't think you're violating anything. And if, you know.
It hasn't, it's not a hot topic, it's not a hot button, it's not, it's benign. Now,
You did get bids.
But I did feel like, since we've got that's the reason why I think at the committee level, although we don't have any authority, I just think it would have been a good idea. And I got the council president here, and I've also got Mr. Hamner here, and if they don't have any indigestion about it, I'll call the mayor, and then we'll go from there. Is that agreeable?
Sure.
Okay, now, that being said, I'll call Mayor Colburn tonight. Would you go ahead and talk about your maintenance proposal?
One of the things I want to do, and we're appreciative of DBI taking care of the beds. We're not good at taking care of beds. We don't keep them up to the level of what people want to see and that sort of thing. And if people have interest or volunteer or whatever, we're well pleased with that. But the grass cutting over there, okay, at the Carriage Museum, the Tavern, and the Armory, what I would like to do is to seek bids for the cutting of grass at those three places. You got the flower beds, right? Is that included at the tavern?
The flower beds that are at the tavern, this landscaping would just be the carriage.
Okay, so we would have to do it, but we have, man, I'm telling you, we cut the grass. We cut the grass at the medical center for less than $3,000 a year, okay? And if we could reduce some of our indigestion about how the tavern appears, how it looks, start doing more fertilizing, like we do at the medical center, those kinds of things, and improve the appearances of the tavern and the carriage museum, and put the armory in there as well, because it's simply right there. And I'd like to bid that out, so in the springtime, when grass cutting season starts again, that we would be prepared and make it for a 5-month or a 4-month term, and then bid it out at the same time as the medical center as a lump sum. It's just a grass cutting and then whatever landscaping around the tavern.
So when is the contract at the medical center?
It's usually a July to July.
Okay.
And I think that's the case right now, is it not, Jennifer?
So you're talking about these three properties over here in the museum district, you just do that until July and then do it all together?
Do a July deal and then start another and bid it out as a package with the medical center at the same time.
What are your feelings on that, Ms. Thompson?
That sounds good.
I think it'll look better.
I think that'll work.
If you don't have a maintenance season, you couldn't add that on to the cemetery grass committee, cutting committee?
I would,
Not more than you can do out there if you get a wet season like we have.
I,
Yeah, I realize that.
cutting the grass at the cemetery is a handful for sure. You know that, and I know that. It's not a bad thing to discuss over the next few months because we've got until the spring season. I wouldn't be 100% opposed to it. There's differences at the cemetery that aren't the armory. You've got headstones, damages to headstones, all those kinds of things. Stopping work during funerals, they interrupt folks. You know, if we have 2 or 3 funerals going on, then somebody can't cut for 2 or 3 days and getting up leaves. But I wouldn't be opposed to certainly taking a look at it. It has all the merit in the world, but I don't think it's as simple as cutting the grass at the medical or the armory. And I think we gotta create an RFP that has a little more oomph to it, simply because you may be working for a day and then you have to pull everybody out. If
You got
Just
two
gonna-
pieces of property over there, right?
at the medical center,
No, over at the armory and is this including the armory?
it would include the lot around the armory, the medical center, the tavern, and the carriage museum,
One contract.
and contract it out with the medical center starting in July. Mhm.
Now, when you originally talked about this, you were talking about all townhome property. You're not asking for that now?
I'm not asking for it at this very moment. I want to move forward with some other things. I think the cemetery makes a whole lot of sense, But I don't think it's the simplest thing, just cut it 5 times a year and here's the one sheet. You're gonna have a significant amount of additional insurance and all kinds of things for the headstones.
Ball field and any other.
I think we're gonna leave the ball field, because the ball field, the reason for the ball field to stay with the town is we got a tournament coming, you gotta cut it on Tuesday, because we gotta get it low enough, so the tournament that starts on Friday, so I think we have to, it's gonna be hard to say it's gotta be cut once a week, when it may need to be cut twice a week, or I think something with the ball field is probably gonna have more detail to it. Dan, those guys, keep an eye on it, if it's been raining a lot, they'll cut it on Tuesday, and then come back and cut it again on Friday, and, I think the ball field requires a little more diligence
Well, let me ask you
than
this.
just a flat contract.
This is just my opinion. I agree with what you're saying about the ball fields, but I think that also applies to the cemeteries. I'm a little leery about contracting the cemetery out. It's because, like you said, you know, if you got a couple of funerals today and you know, XYZ contractor plans to come in there, you're gonna blah, 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 you know what I'm saying?
It's
And
not
I'm
a bad
telling
idea,
you-
but it's not as simple.
Well, let me ask you this. Why don't we try to contract out as much as we can, except for the cemetery?
Like Sea Park and Town Square and.
Sea Park,
Exactly.
Town Square, I think
All
those
that
things
stuff.
make as much sense
I-
of
you
cutting
know-
as well, yeah.
And how about, you know, everything except the ball fields?
Yeah, we could go around the school buildings and all that sort of
Buildings and all
thing. Mm-hmm.
that stuff. Me personally, I'd rather get that done because there's not as much scrutiny about it.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think the 8 of us are gonna have to listen to as much lip about if that's not done.
But I would like to go ahead and do the tavern, the Carriage Museum, and the Armory this year,
Okay,
and then coming up, or over the winter months, and if that seems to be going good, then for the July, we can package up more if we want.
so you talking about maybe do this as a pilot program to see if how.
Kind of, yes, make sure it works out, and medical center seems to be working, the grass is lush over there, but we have irrigation, and that helps. But we're cutting crabgrass over there at the tavern. Let's see if we can make it look a little better, and I think it's a keenly interested part, and it's, I think, simple. You just run over top everything.
Let's do this, Philip. I make a motion that the committee recommends to council to authorize you to seek bids on those 3 properties, and use that as a,
Name them.
the Carriage Museum, Forest Tavern, and the Armory lot, as a pilot program for maybe future, subbing out this kind of stuff.
And it may work out that we do the cemetery, it may work out we do the ball field, but it's hard to sit back and say, you shall cut it 2 times a week or 1 time a week, and next thing you know, we've got a cemetery and the grass looks horrible, and we're back in there cutting it a second time.
Me personally, I don't see how you can ever contract that because of the complexity and because of, I just don't see that. I see where you can do it with, you know, these 4 properties we're talking about. I can see that, but I'm telling you, I really don't trust it. I'd
Sea
rather-
Park may make
I'd
some
rather be
sense,
under
too.
the eye of Dan and you than just some contractor who bids it out and doesn't care if they don't blow off the grade.
No, there's some question about what are you going to do with these guys. Well, if you've ever looked around town, the shoulders of the road, driving near Constant Wynn's house, there's grass all over the top of the curbs. We want the town to look better appearance-wise. We can
We need to be
paint
painting
curbs, all those kinds of things. So this is not a reduction in force necessarily. This
an
is
increase in services.
this. I think we can do a little better increased services. If we can cut the medical center for less than $3,000 a year, we can do those facilities hopefully for comparable or thereabouts costs, and you can see what an employee costs versus a couple $3,000 a year to get a facility, and maybe it looks better. Maybe the fertilizing is better. Maybe all those kinds of things. But our intention is to take those employees that do that kind of stuff now and get them cutting curbs. If drive by in front of Constant Wynn's house, that's the entrance into town. Okay, and the grass is over the top of the curbs. Those guys could be
It's
focusing on that.
everywhere.
Yeah.
It's everywhere.
Go down Church Street, go down Dinwiddie Avenue. We can make those little places look better, I think, in town. Okay?
The fellas who cut the grass for the town, they need to pick up paper before they
Sure.
cut.
All that needs to be
Pick
done.
up in the grass, when they cut the grass.
And it's our intention, and when I met with Dan, it's our intention for the town to have a sharper appearance. That's what we want. We want to take down signs that are unnecessary or repetitive or redundant. We want to take down signs whenever possible. We want to cut grass over curbs. We want to paint curb lines and entrances. Go in front of Jean's. You know, he runs an auto repair shop, but there's so much grass and dirt that's built up in those driveways. That stuff should be cleaned out. And the street sweeper isn't going to get it because it just pushes it farther up into his place.
While you do this over here at the museum, the Carriage Museum, would you look into a plan, maybe we can put it in capital improvement of designating a better parking, even paving parking, something over there, but it's kind of haphazard now.
Oh, at the museum?
Museum.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, I would like for us to get together and maybe come up with a plan and come up with the money. And, you know, if we don't do anything but gravel it and just put railroad ties around it or something, but it's kind of, you know, it's a free-for-all.
At
All
the
right.
Carriage Museum?
At the Carriage Museum. But there is a motion on the floor to authorize.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Anything else on that?
I
That carries.
got just, I don't want to prolong this because the time is of essence, but when the judge gives somebody public service so many hours, do we get any of that?
Sometimes,
What's wrong with them picking up the paper when you hear of a grass cutting and, that's all I need to know. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, that's great, that's great.
We use inmates periodically. I think they do go to the cemetery still. I think there's inmates, no inmates?
Yeah, they are, but they do not do a very good job.
We do get inmates and, they can do,
Community
certain
service,
things.
not public service.
Don't let me forget about this.
All right.
Before we go, before Ms. Thompson came in, you know, I think we ought to make a motion to recommend to council that we adopt the cemetery policy that we've been working on. So, would you do that, Mr. Hamner?
Yeah, I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
All right. So that we got that on the record, that we'll finally have a, is there anything else? I hate to rush, but that's the reason I want to get y'all together. Y'all comfortable with this?
I just wanna clarify, you don't want me to contact Eric yet?
I will be in touch with you in the morning. I'm gonna try to find Mayor Colburn and make sure he doesn't have indigestion. I do not have indigestion with this at all. Okay, so, I mean, but I don't wanna get out in front of the council. I don't wanna do the wrong thing here. And if the mayor thinks he needs to call a special meeting, but I think this needs to be installed before the 20th. I'd like to see this installed in the next week or so.
Ideally, we would love to have it done before holidays.
That and the time frame. This is the time to plant this material. So I think the mayor will be fine with it.
I'll just get back.
But I'll give him that courtesy. I'll give him a phone call. Okay? Any other business? Thank y'all. We're adjourned.
Please look at that Bonds Accord lease
Yep.
that's attached.
Yeah, and then Monday, we're gonna get together.